Okay, so first things first, this is the Seagate ST-251 we have right here that I'm formatting just to get the VHB off of it. First, let's look at the jumpers. The jumper position that the UNIX PC likes is this one right here, where it's the first one, and the first one only. Assuming that this is the same model of ST-251 that any of you might have. Booting from the diagnostic disk in order to format for the first time the ST-251. Yes, thank you, system configuration, very nice. And we are going to choose initialize hard disk number 2. Now, the Maxter X, it's not Maxter, excuse me, the Seagate ST-251 is not on this list. And the only Seagate that's shown is a 10 megabyte Seagate, and the ST-251 is 43 megabytes formatted and 51 unformatted. So that's clearly not the case. Plus, I happen to know from looking it up online that the heads are 6. There are 6 heads, not 4, and the cylinders are 820, not 306. So we don't actually have any options here with 6 heads, and nor do we have any cylinder options with 820 cylinders. So we're going to have to specify others. So 12. Alright, so give the number of cylinders. The number of cylinders is 820. Okay? And now give the number of tracks per cylinder. Oh, I gotta look at that. Let's see. Sectors per track, but tracks per cylinder. So we have to think about that. Tracks per cylinder is exactly the same as how many heads, right? So if there's 6 heads, there's going to be 6 tracks per cylinder. It's just such a strange way to ask the question. I wish that they just said give number of heads, right? Instead of tracks per cylinder. Maybe there's a reason for that, because sometimes there's an additional head for servo data. I don't care. In which case, you just don't count the head, right? Anyway, again, I still think it should be heads. But I didn't write this, and it was 30-some years ago now. All right, number of tracks per cylinder, we're going to make that 6. There we go. All right, sectors per track. Well, from looking it up online, I can see that the sectors per track is 17. That's a fairly straightforward question. Will this system be used by more than one user? I'm going to say no. Now, I know that has to do with the partitioning of this hard drive. If we were to specify more than one user, it would create a separate partition for additional users. Or a slice, as the Unix guys called it at AT&T back in the day, and even at other flavors of Unixes. So we call it a partition. Back in the day, it was called a slice. So I'm going to say no. All right, all data will be released, yes or no? Yes. And here we go, formatting cylinders. Isn't that great? Alrighty. Bad block table contains one entry. Now, as I mentioned in my email, this is a very important piece. So, it only found one something that was bad in this point. It's going to add more to that, I think, when it does the surface test. But this is what has to be different when you're imposing a VHB or volume home block, I believe. Volume home block. When you're imposing it from another hard drive. But the bad block table is going to be physically different. Is going to be different than what the physical needs are of the actual drive. So you're going to have bad sectors that aren't in the bad block table, and of course then this is going to say such and such sector is bad when really in your drive it's probably fine. So this is the biggest thing that I'm concerned about, using this for anything other than extremely short term until you can get it formatted using this process. Okay, so I think it's interesting to know the volume name Winchester. Just don't get an option for that. At least not when you use the default method here. We could do other more fun things, but we might as well use the default method. Total space, partition 0, which is the volume home block, by the way. Partition 0 is the volume home block. And partition 1 is the swap, right? And then partition 2, slice. See, this is interesting. They're called partitions here, which is what we call them in English, but man, go back to Unix and they're called slices. Go figure. User space, very nice. Alright, so you can now choose to do a surface test to ensure all bad spots have been detected. This will be recommended to take at least 20 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to. I don't know what good it's going to do you if you're going to borrow this VHB, because the results are going to be completely different than a surface test on your drive. And I highly recommend doing a surface test on your drive to figure out where the real spots are once you can get it formatted using this method. So here we go. Alright, starting to find some errors. Alright, look at this. The bad block table contains 1 entries. Well, it contained an entry before. So, what does this mean? There's nothing new? Press return to continue. Well, let's press return. Park disk heads. Guess that means it was done with the initialization and creating of the bad block table. And I have no reason not to believe that. I guess first I'm going to test it by taking the diagnostic floppy out. By taking the diagnostic floppy out, set that aside, and then we're going to basically reboot the system directly from the ST-251 that I just formatted. Now, it shouldn't boot because we haven't done an install of the operating system, but it should at least recognize the hard drive and show a boot screen here if there's a loader on it. And I'm pretty sure that a loader gets put on it, but we'll see. Maybe not. Let's check it out. Reset button. And the first marching box, and the second marching box. Alright, there's no loader. It's looking for the presence of a loader. So we'll just give you the VHB.